Welcome aboard, folks. I'm Steven Malkowich, your captain on this adventure called Ship of Fools. I'm a fool. Lucky for you, I'm not sailing solo. Join me and a boatload of people, all just trying to make sense of this crazy world. It's a fabulous mess, and you're invited. Okay, I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to our second Ship of Fools podcast. It's guaranteed to be many of our Ship of Fools podcasts from the ship here. For everyone to be caught up to speed here, this podcast is kind of sort of based on a classic movie called The Ship of Fools, which was made in 1965. And the only difference between this Ship of Fools movie that was made in 1965 is they didn't know that they were on a ship of fools. We know we're on a ship of fools. So what we're attempting to do with this podcast is conform it to our modern audience and understand that we're in a world where things seem to be kind of absurd, and have a little bit of fun of what that absurdity as we live through it. There's no topics that we consider to be taboo. And with that, I would like to introduce myself, Steven Malkowich. I'm no relation to the actor. Get confused sometimes. It works when you're trying to get a car in the Los Angeles airport. And Jacob Soukoreff, the owner of Westmont Projects, which is a local construction company here, a fantastic construction company located here headquartered in sunny South Surrey, White Rock. One of the reasons, Jacob, that I wanted to talk to you and that we're having this discussion is when we had our first podcast, and we had met before that on a few occasions, we got into a very, very interesting discussion in the hallway of the ship here about housing and what was happening. But before we do that, I'd like you to tell us a little bit about your company, about yourself. As much as you like. I know that you build houses. I know, but give us a synopsis of your company.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me on. I grew up in Ladner, just across the bay there, and grew up in a family of five, eldest of five. We were homeschooled, K to 12, and then on. And then right after I graduated, the day after I graduated, I started working for a Dutch carpenter in Ladner. Started knowing nothing and worked for him for 11 years and then ended up buying him out and started on my own. And we've been doing that now for 8 years. We are carpenters. We specialize in high-end custom homes. We do anything carpentry related. So forming, framing, finishing, siding, timber work, anything to do with wood is our forte. And it's been a great journey. I love running a business. My dad ran his own business, my grandpa, so I had kind of the entrepreneurial mindset early on. Now we have 21 carpenters working for us. We do work all over the Lower Mainland, anywhere really that our services are needed. And yeah, it's been good. I really enjoy it. I'm still hands-on most of the week. I'm still swinging the hammer because I love what I do, especially in the summer. Being outdoors and swinging hammer. That's one thing I knew early on is I couldn't sit behind a computer all day. I was always active as a kid, couldn't sit still, had to use my hands for something. I find the work we do very satisfying because you take like a pile of lumber and you build a home for somebody. And that's where they have all their memories and their, life milestones and all these things come out of what we build for them. And at the end of the day, you look and you're like, I did something and I'm helping contribute to, putting roofs over people's heads and all that.
With that, I'll key in on building what you said, a home. Mm-hmm. This is a perfect opportunity to segue into the meat of the discussion that we wanted to talk about. And that was the crisis that we face. You made a crucial statement there. You get satisfaction out of building a home. When you build a home, it's a home for life. But what's happened, it seems, is that and I hate, it's a made up word, the businessification of building homes.
Mm-hmm.
Homes aren't built as homes. That's just one part. Well, it's a very important point. Everybody remembers, you remember your homes.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of moving from your home, that wasn't something that was top of mind. And I remember when, I grew up in southern Manitoba.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up there, graduated high school there, went away to university. My father was a businessman there, but he sold all his businesses and then he moved from my hometown. And I was devastated because they moved out of the home. They sold the home that I grew up in. And so where they moved to, that wasn't my home. Wasn't my home. Let's talk a little bit about where we find ourselves. Let's admit we're in the lower mainland of British Columbia. It's it's a desirable place to live. But we keep on hearing and we keep on seeing that there's a lack of homes. There's a lack of money for people to buy homes, to even start to begin to create some sort of solution. I think we have to understand what the actual problem is here. I'd like you to start with that. What do you see as the primary driver of this situation that we find ourselves in? It's an understanding that took a long time to get here. Like
Just a culmination.
That's right. It didn't. So please start with that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the thought of home, like my mom's from Germany and they have a totally different mindset. Like you stayed in that home your whole life. Even people that were renting, they would rent for their entire, they would stay in that home for their entire life. My great grandfather basically never left his village for most of his life. But they really had that idea. That was the anchor. That was of where they were. Whereas here, people move all the time. There isn't that same connection with the home, but also it's not like some of it's not voluntary. Like with housing and affordability, we push people way farther and farther away from where they grew up. And I'm by no means like an expert in this subject, but I do know a fair bit being in the industry as long as I have. I talked to a few of my friends in the building industry too before I came on. I wanted to give a proper representation of the situation we're in. And there's a culmination of a bunch of different things all coming together at once. And there's a narrative out there that, these developers and builders are just gouging people and running away with crazy profits. And, similar to what they say about the food industry or gas. All of them are saying these people are gouging you and running away record profits and all that. But when you actually dig into it, there's one entity bears most of the blame, and that's our government. Things that affect housing, big ones are like inflation, right? You got taxes, the permits and fees, bureaucratic red tape, regulations, all these things, by the way, like the government has their hand in these things, even things like immigration, land value, monopolies, lack of infrastructure, all these things contribute to the cost of building a house.
When you're going to build a house, or what the permitting, let's just take what it's say. There's a cost obviously for the materials. There's a cost for the labor of whatever you're constructing. 3-bedroom, 2,200 square foot home. And let's just, we'll exclude the land at this point because the land is another matter. As a percentage of your construction costs, what does the government influence expense-wise on that?
Just in like taxes, permits, fees, on average, it's at least 32% of the cost.
32%.
Just in that. So like, for example, a big development, say $70 million massive, a developer might make 3% on that, which is still a large amount of money on 70 million, but government's making 32%. It's like $22 million on that. So, and it's so disingenuous when they talk about we're fighting for housing affordability and we're striving for this and that, when they are the largest cost of the project by percentage is the government. And that 32% doesn't include lots of other things. Like my company, almost 50% of my revenue goes to the government in some form, right? And so if all the trades working on that site are also paying a large portion of their revenue to government, they have to pass that on to the builder, and the builder has to pass that on to the end consumer, to the homeowner. And so, yeah, it just bothers me every time they talk about, and by the way, when they talk about housing affordability, they're not talking the same language as us. They're not talking about home ownership a lot of the times. They're just talking about government subsidized rental housing, right? Which is, you and I probably, when I was younger, my goal was to work really hard, save up and be able to buy a house. And that was a motivator. Like I worked my butt off and we were able to achieve it. And that was almost 13 years ago. So,
but it was achievable.
It was achievable.
It was achievable
on a carpenter's
yeah
wages. And this is not even that long ago.
Yeah.
And now I look at my guys and they don't stand a chance. They don't stand a chance to be able to, because housing, costs go like this and wages can't keep up.
Yeah.
Like it's happened in the States too, but we're talking about it going like from 5 times your wage to 6 times your wage. Whereas here it's gone from, it's like 15 times your wage.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just, but again, it all comes back to one entity, and that's our government.
We had a provincial election.
Yeah.
Now we have a new federal government. I'm anxious to see. I really am anxious to see if there is going to be any change. I'm fortunate that I moved out here in 1994 and dug in, wasn't able to buy a house, and we rented for, I think it was 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Bought our first house, and I thought I was going to die because of the amount.
Yeah.
I was having heart palpitations. I phoned my father and he said, that's a lot of money.
Sure.
and it was at that time. It really was. It went, and I was able to pull it off.
Yeah.
I don't know how I really, and I have 2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
$1 million is still is a lot of money.
And I keep hearing people older than me talk about the 80s and inflation and interest rates going crazy. But even at whatever it was, 20%, 22%, houses were what, 100,000, 80,000,
$70,000.
So 20% of $20,000, 20% of 1.5 million is like, no, sorry, 7, where we're 5-6% we are now, is far more than 20% was on the house, because we've lost the purchasing power of our dollar. Like the what we can buy with it is not even close. Like inflation is a tax on all of us, and so we're in a recession right now. Like my property value has sort of flatlined for the last 3 years or so, but in reality, it's actually gone way down. Because the purchasing power of my dollar is way down. Like just for kicks, I went on to Save on Food's flyer website. You can go back like 4 or 5 years because they keep telling us inflation's at 3% or something. It's some number. It's a total bogus. Mm-hmm. And I just compared apples to apples, literally, right? And almost all the items we're paying pretty much double for in the last 5 years, right? Yes. That's 100% inflation. Not this whatever number they keep telling us, like, oh, it's only 3%. So what I can buy with $100, like one bag of groceries, it's basically $75 per bag. So I have 2 bags, $150. Like, and I've got 5 kids, and like,
it's crazy.
It's crazy. But So inflation, which is caused primarily by the government, it affects everything because as the cost, I have to pay my guys more because just for them to survive. And so then I have to charge more to the builder and they have to charge more to the homeowner. And so it has that trickle down effect. And that is one of the major.
And the one mainstay throughout this all, the government still gets their money.
Yeah. Well, because what they call it, the cancel-on effect. So when the government prints money, initially, those closest to the source of the money can spend it at face value. But by the time it trickles down to you and I, what we can buy with that is next. Yes. So my mom was from Germany. My great grandfather lived through the Weimar Republic and the hyperinflation. So she had, 500,000 mark bills at home that we'd play around with as kids. But that was, caused by the overproduction of money. It dilutes the value of it. And that is directly the government's fault.
Yeah. So now we find ourselves in a situation where I just actually read this morning, I think it was this morning or last night, the condominium market. Now, let's talk about the condominium market. Yeah. 4,000 or 5,000 empty units sitting, just sitting. Developers getting extremely creative, willing to sign a contract to say that the value of your condominium will not will not depreciate, and if it does, they'll buy it back from you at that. Yeah. The other thing, back to the home thing, is we built all these condominiums that really they're not homes.
They're for investments.
That's right. They're for investments. They're not. It's not a home. You wouldn't raise two children. A couple wouldn't live in it comfortably with a dog. Let's get real. Yeah. And that's what we're building. And we continue to do this.
Because our priorities are skewed. So in other jurisdictions, like in Alberta or parts of the States, they prioritize 3-4 bedroom homes, family homes. And so simple supply and demand, right? There's lots of them on the market. They're affordable for families to purchase. Here, we prioritize these studio apartments, these 1-bedroom condos, because that's what investors were lapping up because they view, Vancouver as this.
Yeah, it's like Airbnb.
Like all these towers in White Rock here, they're all 100% sold out. And at night, you drive by and maybe 10 windows have lights on. It's like, right, this is all purchased.
Yes.
And nobody's living in. But also, again, it comes down to government meddling, because when the CMHC raised the standards for getting a mortgage, right? You had all these stress tests and stuff they put on it. And what it did, it pushed people that were like really close to be able to afford a single family home, thousands of them out of that market. And so they flooded the townhome condo market, and which shot prices up in those areas artificially high, right? And now that's coming all crashing down. But again, every time you trace it back, and it's like every time they stick their finger in the pie, it messes things up. It's just human psyche. So if there's even a potential for profit in something, somebody will produce that or build that. And if you let the market, if there's a market for family 4-bedroom single family homes, that's what's going to get built, right? And if there's a market for whatever it be, that's what's going to. But they keep trying to, with zoning bylaws, with subsidies, with incent, all these different tools that they use to try manipulate the market, always backfires. There's greedy builders out there because it's a human condition. Yes. And it's never going to go away. But to pretend that government workers don't act in greed and self-interest as well is just it's a joke. And so the housing industry has propped up, especially municipalities like Vancouver. They get so much money from the housing industry. Cornerstone of their revenue is it's to their, because like property taxes are based, there's a mill rate of some sort based on the value of the property. So it's to their interest for property values to continue to go up. And so if they delay a house, which they do all the time, 2 years, value of that home.
Yeah.
Increased it. It's
And another thing when you talk about that just comes to mind when I came here and bought my first home in, I guess it was 1998 or so. I didn't know what the land transfer tax was.
yeah.
I had no idea what that was. Like seriously, I just about had a heart attack, really pushing it to get what I could get. And then I get a phone call saying we need an extra $7,000, $8,000 or $9,000. Like I didn't have it, and I started having a panic attack, and then I really read more information and said, well, if you're a first time home buyer, and I thought, oh well, I'm a first time home buyer. No, that's in the country. Okay, it's across the country. So you bought a home one time and somewhere else,
and it had a max amount of value of the home too, right?
Yeah,
and I can't remember when we bought our home, we didn't qualify because our house was over 500, whatever it was, 425,000, and they could waive it, but ours was 500,000. You can't even buy anything in our mainland for under that.
So I just and so you think about the amount of money that's collected by the government
for what though?
Yeah,
for what? To change the name on the title of the deed.
Exactly.
One to another. It takes something 5 minutes to check it out.
Exactly. That's ridiculous. And that's a business.
Oh, yeah.
It's a business.
No, it's an income revenue stream.
It's a revenue stream.
All these things are revenue streams. Like we have, GVRD, Fortis, BC Hydro. A lot of times you have First Nations stuff you have to deal with, oceans and fisheries. Like there's all, depending on where you're building, there's a myriad of additional costs that you don't know about. And the homeowners don't know about it either. And then they get hit with just to build, like we're doing the house in Tsawwassen right now. It was originally a single family home. Their parents are getting older and they want their kid to have a chance and live beside them. So they converted, they rezoned it, or development permit. So now it's 2 doors as opposed to 1. It's a duplex. We're supposed to densify, and makes sense. But just the development permit alone on that is an additional $45,000 onto the cost, just because they added another door. And then you got like $10,000 to TransLink, because they can't obviously pay their bills, so they tack that on there. GVRD, $12,000. You have to pay for all the water. Additionally, because you've already paid however many tens of thousands for the permit, and then when you go, it becomes a developer at DCC. There's a whole nother list of costs that are added, and it can get out of control. Like they can get you to upgrade capital works on the street, traffic lights, put wires underground, and you have no choice. You have no say, because if you say no, I'm not going to do that, then they're like, well, then you don't get your permit, because they have a monopoly on the permitting process. The Catholic school that's going up on 24th, right?
Yes.
I think Troy said it was 11 million, I want to say, in DCC, like in development fees. So you had to put new traffic lights in, upgrade all of 24th along there. And here in Surrey, where we desperately need schools, you have portables everywhere. Yeah. Here's a new high school coming in to take some of that load off, and you punish them with an $11 million DCC. And that all in the States, that went all the way to Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said that is extortion, because it's not like you can go to some other municipality and say, hey, no, you have to, if you're in Surrey, you have to deal with the city of Surrey. They have a total monopoly. And the thing about monopolies is the person that holds a monopoly has zero incentive to provide a good service or product, because you have no other place to go. And in BC especially, we have monopolies in everything. And like if you look at the top 50 revenue companies in BC, 12 of them are crown corporations. You have ICBC, WCB, BC Ferries, BC Housing Corp, BC Lotto Corp, Liquor Distribution Branch. These are multi-billion-dollar monopolies.
What's your government?
Monopolies, because you can't, like for WorkSafe, I can't go to some other insurance broker and say, I'd rather have, no, I have to deal with them, and they're terrible to deal with.
And it's not like you're like it is just as a business person running your business, you want your employees to be safe.
Absolutely. That's the kookiest. And the way they treat you is like, I'm trying to push them to the limit of safety to make a buck. And I guess there's people out there. But the nice thing about like in a true free market, if I'm treating my employees like crap, they can go somewhere else if it's a truly free market. And so WCB, like you phone them up, I have hardly any claims because we have safety this, safety that, first aid training, everything, right? But odd time someone cuts themselves or something, and you go to voicemail, it's like, we'll return your call in 14 business days. Like if I ran my company like that, I would have no business.
Yes.
Right. And then I pay them hundreds of thousands of dollars. I have no choice. I have to. And then when it comes to claiming anything for any of my workers that are injured, it's like pulling teeth. But again, they're a monopoly. So there's no reason why they should.
And the thing is though, that the money, all of these fees that you're paying, and it's analogous to the gas taxes that pay on gas. You remember the day when they used to put on the gas pumps where all
the percentage,
that's mysteriously gone.
Yeah. They have it in California. I saw that again when I was down there. It's like,
and they don't want anybody to see.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is in the government's best interest for the gas price per liter to be jacked up higher because their percentage
increases.
Yeah. The thing is, in your industry, all of the fees that you're paying, all of these permits, workplace safety, there's no accountability either for that.
You can't.
There's no accountability. Once that's paid, it just where does it go?
Yeah. What are they doing?
What are they doing?
Like the DCCs. I thought part of our property taxes was supposed to go towards road paving and infrastructure like that and capital works. I thought that's what we paid property taxes for. So if they're offsetting those costs to the builder, what are our property taxes going towards then?
Yes.
Right? Like I thought that was in their mandate. Why are they?
Yes. It makes no sense. What makes no sense is constructing a new school and then within 2 days having portables put up. That's a head scratcher.
No. Oh, I know. Well, it takes them like the South Meridian school here. It's like 4 years because they go to like complete green, net zero, whatever they're doing. And it takes them absolutely forever to build it. And it's undersized. It's over, at capacity the second it's built.
Are we getting into the neighborhood of us being? I know we've been referred to as the California of the North.
We're worse than California.
We're getting to the point where it's getting worse.
Oh yeah.
It's totally worse.
You look at for taxation, for instance, because California is the highest tax state. All 50 states, all 10 provinces, taxation rate. The top 10 are all the Canadian provinces for taxation, and then comes California. And then you take GDP or like Meridian wage. Like states like Mississippi have a higher median wage than Alberta, which is our wealthiest province. So we're making less than even Mississippi or Alabama, an average worker there, and yet our taxes are higher than the highest state in the States.
In the United States.
Right?
Yeah. And have some business operations down in California. It's difficult to do a lot of things.
Regulations.
But here, one of the things I wanted to touch on too was that these issues that we're talking about here, they're not new.
No.
They've continued. They continue. The solution, and you're right when you say, okay, well, property taxes. My property taxes, I'm of the age where I don't have any kids that are school age. I don't have a problem if the part of my property taxes are going towards school. I don't. I don't have a problem. I actually don't have a problem paying taxes, period. No. I have a problem with lack of accountability. That's what I've got a problem with.
Well, for sure.
And a lot of these things that we're talking about on the housing end, and we tend to correlate. You made, I don't know if you made the statement, but you alluded to it, the housing correlation to the homeless. The solution, as the naive solution to, is to say, well, you know what, we need more social housing. That's a joke.
Yeah.
It is a joke. That's not a solution. But that's the easiest thing for the government to say because they want to continue to collect money. In your obviously you're a member of associations, construction associations. You hang around with, you're talking to all of these. How, like, builders? How are builders surviving?
Well, I mean, a lot of them are retiring. Like I don't know how many of them have said to me, well, I'm glad I'm not, starting out at I'm glad I'm just at the end of this and I can just hang up my cap and it's over. So a ton of them are retiring, which is a major problem in the trades too. Like I think 250,000 tradesmen and women are going to be retiring in the next few years. So honestly, I sometimes wonder, like, why. I'm basically a tax collection agency for the government. That's my main job description, I guess. And I sometimes question, why do I keep going? Because there's so much headache running a business. And most of the headache doesn't have to do with my guys or clients. It has to do with dealing with government.
Like we all want, we're sitting here, we're saying individually, you want healthcare. We want healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
We do. We want traffic lights. We want police.
Yeah.
Seeing as this is the ship of fools, the absurdity that went on here in the city of Surrey, fighting over who were going to be the police.
I think there's a handful of things that the governments have a mandate to do. They're not the solution. We're talking about solutions. They are not the solution. In fact, every time they've tried to solve a problem, it's made it 10 times worse. Whatever you want to talk about, welfare,
building ferries,
drug problems, building ferries. Like you can literally look. See, I work hands-on, tactile. If I mess up a 2x4, I throw it out. These people are dealing in these ideals, these theories, these whatever. They have these ideas, and there's talking about accountability. When they fail catastrophically, they don't get punished for it. They don't get, there's no consequences for it. In fact, they get rewarded. We have the architect of unaffordability, Gregor Robertson, is the housing minister. He gets rewarded for his abject failure, right? And so the government's not the solution. In fact, there's, like I said, a handful of things, like they should be involved in justice, the courts, the policing, national defense. There's a very limited number of things that arguably should do. Everything else can be much better done by the private sector or by others.
Boy, there is accountability.
Yeah, exactly. Because the accountability is, if I screw you, you're never going to do business with me again.
That's right.
Or if I feel like I'm getting ripped off at a grocery store, I'm going to go over to the other grocery store that treats me better.
Yes.
Right. And whereas the government, I have no options. I have no other option to deal with them. So, and like I said, look at everything that they've tried to solve from the top down, and it just ends in disaster, like the housing of the homeless.
The drug problem.
The drug problem. I volunteered at night shift in Wally for the last 16 years, and it's just got way worse. And I talked to the people. They set up all this. First of all, they buy like the most expensive land possible to set up social housing on. So it's already not going to be affordable housing from the get-go. They build a brand spanking new facility, and within months, the people I talk to, they don't want to live in these places. There's rats and drugs and fires and knife stabbings, and they rather live on the street than in this government social housing. It doesn't work, or the drugs too. I heard an interesting thing said one time, and it was a system is what it does. So they might call it safe supply or harm reduction or whatever, but if the result is more addiction, more overdose, more death, but that's what it's doing. That's what it's meant to do. I don't know. Like,
it is. The thing is that there's a lot of things, a lot of problems that we have that are actual businesses. and you're talking about, we allude to government,
Mhm.
government's involvement in a lot of things. You know, I had a long-standing joke that our memories are very short, especially here in this province, in province of British Columbia. We have no memory.
Yeah.
Because I was just joking. This is a number of years ago, when Tesla started to become popular. With our NDP government here in British Columbia, why not start making electric cars? Because they did such a great job with fast fares. Why is the tunnel still there? Why is there not a bridge? Why? But the thing, and the question, I guess, Jacob, is that you're in the business of building, and it comes across. You're building homes.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing, and you do it because that's what you want to do. You enjoy doing it, and it's going to be somebody's home, and you're passionate about it. And it begs the question of all the things that we've been talking about. Does anybody care?
This is what I found out through COVID, was if something doesn't personally affect, they don't care at all. They really don't. And we talk about representation in government all the time, like me, this minority represented, this, whatever. How many blue collar workers are in government? There's no representation of it. They're all lawyers, poli-sci grad, whatever, there's a certain cut that, and so here we have people that have absolutely no idea about housing or how a house is built or how trades get to site or anything. They don't sit in hours and hours of traffic to get to a site. And they're the ones dictating how we should build, what we should build, what our transit system to get around looks like. Like, it's all fine and good to build all these bike lanes, but it only is any good if you can afford to live within biking distance of your work. So who's that in Vancouver? What, you're West Side Vancouver? Like, yeah, nobody can afford there. Like, all the trades are pushed way out to the suburbs, so we have to commute. Transit is not an option for a tradesperson. I have like tons of tools, a compressor. Yeah. I've sometimes joked, I should get my whole crew of 20 guys. Take the bus with all our tools, hoses, cables, and things. Because I participated in a survey. They're like, how does the transit look in the next 30 years in Lower Mainland, right? I was like, oh, good. I'll have my say, right? And so it's like, what is your preferred form of transit? Is it biking, walking, bus, SkyTrain, or those were the options. And I'm like, what about vehicle? Yeah. How is that not even? And so, the survey of the public comes out and says, SkyTrain is the most preferred form of transportation. It was like, well, you didn't even have the option, right? And here we have the Patella Bridge is a 4-lane bridge. It's replaced with a 4-lane bridge. The Massey Tunnel, already going to Vancouver, I have 3 lanes of traffic already. That's all I'm getting with this new tunnel is 3 lanes of traffic. Yeah. So the day it's built, it's going to be over capacity. Yeah. The day it's built, and these things are supposed to last 100 years or whatever. Mm-hmm. There's zero foresight. And then that begs the question, what are they trying to do? A system is what it does. And I know for a fact, one of their goals is to get people out of cars. And so they're making it so onerous and annoying and cumbersome. My young guys that work for me, some of them pay $6,000 for car insurance because they're in this age bracket that's deemed as dangerous. How is a young man supposed to? Because one of my requirements for employment is you have to have your own wheels, because we're on different sites every day. You could never take the bus because we're at all different sites all over the Lower Mainland. You have to have your own mode of transportation. But he's paying $6,000-$7,000 for car insurance. That's eating majorly into his. So we need more bike lanes. Exactly. What's the cost per use? In winter when it's pouring rain, there's nobody on. They have Canby Street bridges, all these bike lanes, and there's nobody on them. So they spend millions and millions building these things, and the usage is very low. Yes. When the double-decker buses came out, if you ever take a look at a bus, especially out in the valley, it's not efficiently used. Oh, not at all. Not even close. It's not even close. Buses aren't cheap.
if you wanted to ride your bike to work, like if you actually could ride your bike to work, you'd have to live within like a couple of mile vicinity of it, and the fact is that the congestion of traffic also, that's another issue. I used to ride mountain bike, and my biggest concern riding mountain bike was getting to the park. I was going to ride my bike, and there's no bike lanes, people don't see people riding bikes. And let's realize where we live. We don't live in Amsterdam.
Yeah, flat as a pancake.
Exactly. We don't. We're not. And we don't live on. We're not living in Tokyo.
No.
Well,
in North America, our city is built around the car. Like in Europe, my mom's from Germany. They had a rail system there for a long time, and they have a fantastic rail system. It lends itself to other forms of transportation, and everything's close together. We're in like a massive country. Distances are enormous. And the most practical way of getting around is by vehicle. And to pretend that we're somehow going to eliminate it's just a joke. The cure is worse than the disease, because we hear a lot about you have to hit net zero and reduce carbon emissions and all this thing. But because you have to take everything to its logical conclusion, right? So the result is, in order to reach that target of net zero, we impoverish all the middle class and limit the car is a freeing thing. Every leap in human prosperity has been linked to human movement of some kind. Like the elevator, suddenly buildings went from 3 stories to skyscrapers, right? The caravels, the Portuguese invented these deep sea going ships, and suddenly the world opened up to them. Rail, and rail came, suddenly the world. And what cars have done is, my options for employment are much larger with my vehicle. I could work anywhere in the Lower Mainland, as opposed to if I had to go horse and buggy or by foot. My job opportunities are back in the day. You never left your town, and you could only work within that. So it's not only physical movement; it's also social mobility was limited, and the car has been this phenomenal.
We seem to be trying to choke out that.
So exactly, it will reverse all that we've made. Like our standard of living is way higher than it was back in the
horse and buggy days.
Yeah. And so, if the result of that target, like Thomas Sowell said, there's no such thing as solutions, there's only trade-offs. And it's very true. Like, we can achieve a certain level of carbon reduction or efficiencies in the home. We can achieve quite a high level at a reasonable cost. But it's getting to that full 100% net zero, which is an completely unachievable goal that will just bankrupt all of us. It's all it is a massive money grab.
Everything comes from petroleum.
Phone, plastic.
It's not
going to go away.
It's not going to go away.
And the thing is, they talk in extremes, because it's like only an electric vehicle is considered net zero, not a hybrid. Hybrid, I think, is a pretty smart idea. You have the best of both worlds, right? And but like starting next year, 20% of all vehicles sold in BC have to be electric. So that means a car dealership, if they only sell 200 electric vehicles, the maximum combustion engine vehicles they can sell is 800 after that. Like they're what they could sell is tied to how many electrical vehicles they can sell. It's ridiculous. And by 2035, it's supposedly going to be 100% electric. I have big trucks that tow my big trailers. Like, if something is practical, reliable, and affordable, it will sell itself. Right? Again, here we have the government meddling and from the top down forcing this on people, that you have to drive an electric vehicle. But there are no good, maybe technology would change, but like, especially for big semi trucks or not, there's no practical, electric option. And companies like Edison Motors in BC, I think they're doing great work. They have this hybrid model but they can't get any funding because they're not going for net zero.
Yeah.
Or like total electrification. That's not even talking about like, we don't even have near the electrical grid. It's not even like it's close. Like I have a 100 amp breaker box at my house, right? Now houses, we're having to put in like 400 amp breaker boxes because you have to have an electric range, electric charging stations. You have to have electric heat pump. All this takes tremendous draw on our power grid. Like a Tesla, I think a fast charger is between 100 and 200 kilowatts an hour of draw when it's charging, right? And an average house is about 37 kilowatts an hour of draw, right? And so if we have every house on the street, everyone's plugged in, everyone's got their heat pump running in winter, especially, right? You got your heat pump running, you got your electric fireplace, you got your electric stove range going.
We're already, I just found this out. I'm going to say a couple of months ago that we were importing electric power. I was dumbfounded by that. I seriously was, and it's true.
Yeah.
We can't produce enough hydroelectric power.
I think I heard someone say that we need another 9 Site C dams. And how long does it take to build one? Right? Like the barriers are enormous. So what's going to happen in 2035 when we're fully net? And our current federal government is all into this. I actually purchased Mark Carney's book just to kind of.
You shouldn't.
I'm just curious to see how the guy. He's not just like on the sidelines. He's like a hardcore net zero fanatic.
But there's a, you can always say that was then. Possibly cross our fingers. This is now.
Yeah.
And let's get realistic about. That's the little tiny bit of hope I have. I do. I really do. I really do, because I don't know. I'm not getting in an electric airplane. I'm not.
No.
I'm just not. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And I don't understand. Occasionally I see a lot of charging stations going up. I see a lot of charging stations with nobody in them. Just like we're you put them up there. That's an industry,
But even, okay, talk about charging stations for a second. Okay, it takes me, I don't know, 5 to 7 minutes to tank up my vehicle,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So if we're talking about loss of productivity,
yes.
How long does it take? Even a fast charging, what is it? At least half an hour?
I don't know.
It's something like that, right? Like even a fast charge, and a lot of them aren't fast, but the fast charge. So that's whatever, 5 times, 6 times as long.
Yeah.
So
your productivity
in the day,
what are you doing?
and at scale across the entire population, you're talking about millions of productive hours just being lost, just filling up your vehicle.
And we already have, when you talk about a country gross domestic product, okay, like what do we produce per individual, per citizen? And the value of our dollar, our neighbors, is reflective in the fact that we are less productive.
Much less productive.
That's what that says. That's all that says every day. It tells us that directly, that what we're doing is less productive. So we encourage unproductivity and doing things that don't make sense. And now let's take it to the next level. In your business, what can change that? Obviously it was a change of government helped, but would it, and I can say this for me and for my wife, our lives certainly have not gotten better over the last 8-9 years. They haven't. They have not at all. I'm trying to think if I can think of anybody that I know that say, yeah, my life is so much better than it was before. There, even little when carbon tax Carney kneecapped the conservative government, getting rid of it, and it, the price of gas came down. It's back up again, and are we on a ship of fools here?
Oh,
We go, everybody's going, yeah, that's all right. Yeah, that's cool. It's only, it's only back up to $1.88.
Yeah.
It's not 210. That's better than 210. Well, like, okay, well, I'd like to see what, I would like to see the correlation as the gas price goes up. And maybe that's an idea for a website, is the correlation with government revenues as the price of gasoline goes up. Because I know, see the gas prices all over.
Well, it affects everything.
It just does.
So when it went, it was 3-4 years ago, it went up to 172. And John Horgan is like, we're going to haul in all these executives of these gas companies that are gouging. And one of my business mentors, he owns hundreds of gas stations, and he got hauled in. And they made a big fanfare about they're going to hold these people to account, right? But you never heard of the result of that inquiry, because the result of the inquiry was the increase in gas was mostly fueled by the taxation.
Yes.
But they made this huge show of hauling these greedy corporate, fossil fuel company execs into a room and holding them to account. But they never published the results of that inquiry, because all it did was show who's actually, and like my business mentor, he says a lot of times, like with the gas, they're making a profit, but it's because he's got hundreds of gas stations. But like 3 days out of the week, he's not making anything, and 4 days out of the week, he is. So it's like this, like, it's not the main reason the gas is expensive. And that affects everything, because everything gets moved, be it by ship, plane, train, truck, all run on diesel.
Mm-hmm.
That gets taxed. Even my company, we paid, I think it was like, just in gas tax, it's like $30,000 for all my trucks. Just in the gas tax, not the cost of the gas, but just the gas tax. And again, that's something I have to.
And those taxes, the things, is the taxes, the gas tax, common sense. And when it was sold to the public, that's for the infrastructure. That's to keep the roads.
And then the carbon tax is supposed to help with the reduction of.
It all goes into general revenue. Everything it just ensures that the city manager in Surrey can make $400,000-$500,000 a year, and not making that up. But I'm actually not making.
No.
It just ensures that this wheel, this if we do this enough, people will just stop complaining. But the thing is that what really put a pin in it was our experience with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when we talk about all of these things, we were going to get here, and
Mm-hmm.
we all know, we agree that COVID exacerbated that. It exacerbated it to the point of where we go, wow.
It was eye-opening.
Wow, what happened there?
Yeah.
Wow, we allowed something but it just showed you the power that the government does have.
Mm-hmm.
And
what surprised me was the willingness with which Canadians just gave up.
Yes.
All their rights.
Yeah.
Because they were put into a state of fear about something, and readily just abandoned common sense and just gave up all their rights in order to alleviate that fear.
Yeah. And I never saw, during that whole period, my wife and I were reminiscing about this, and during that whole term, that period, I never saw somebody staggering down the street, dying. I didn't. I didn't. And I did travel a fair bit to the U.S. back and forth, which was a complete pain in the ass. Yeah. I remember trying to find I was in Connecticut. I was in Bristol, Connecticut, trying to find a clinic to test me. I was flying out of Boston, and I'm banging on and I've got the Canadian government on the phone going like, look, I've got to get home. I can't, I don't know what, and trying to figure out, the Arrive Canada app, all that shit that went on. But, back to the premise of this, like, we're all sailing along, but like you said, no one cares unless it affects them, until it affects them personally. And it is affecting me personally. It's affecting you personally. It's affecting your wife personally. And it's affecting your 5 children, personally. So when do we look, what's the solution?
We're too nice as Canadians. Like other parts, like even in the States, people stand up when they feel like their rights or their freedoms are being trampled on. They'll go to bat. We've elevated the virtues of kindness and compassion to the highest level, and we're so averse to any kind of failure, risk, pain. When those things are like failure and pain are great teaching moments in anybody's life. That's where we learn the most, the quickest, because those things are like alarm bells going off that something is not working and you need to fix it, right? But in our society here in Canada especially, we do everything to mask, like they got rid of letter grades in school so that nobody fails, right? Like you're just emerging instead of failing, right? We have all these drugs to mask all the pain of everything. We're so adverse to these things that we just readily accept these impositions onto our individual freedoms that we have, and just seemingly willingly give them up.
But does it come down to something as simple as, like, even if it doesn't affect you?
Yeah.
I feel like this is, even if it doesn't affect you, you give a shit.
Right.
You care.
Right.
Like, do you care? When you see something absurd, what's going on here? And the unfortunate thing too about that is when you see something absurd and you bring it to a person in the government's attention, nothing happens.
Nothing happens.
Nothing happens.
Never.
It's like, I went through my own personal experience, dealing with I don't want to get into the specifics of it, but dealing with a medical situation and get the BC College of Physicians involved. And okay, after, 3 meetings and being treated like I'm a criminal, I get a 16-page report saying, yeah, you know what? You're probably, you are right. Like, but you know what? We're not going to do anything about it. Okay. So, where does that leave us?
People kind of just give up.
Yeah.
And that affects, going back to productivity and stuff, like, why put in the effort?
Yeah. So now we'll segue. We'll use the segue into your family. Okay. Because you're kind of unique, but not so unique. But you have 5 children. Not only that you had 5 children, it was 5 children at homeschool, which is mind-boggling. I don't know, like, what are the ages of your children?
They're all 2 years apart, so 12, 10, 8, 6, and 2.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh no, sorry, 6 and 4.
That's 4.
Okay. She's turning 4.
Yeah. The whole reason to talk about this stuff for the podcast, to be honest with you, is because this is ship fools.
Yeah.
And you got 5 coming up.
Yes.
You've got 5 on the boat. And not only 5 on the boat, but you're schooling them at home, which is unique too, which presents a whole different dynamic too. Talk a little bit about that decision. You decide that you're going to keep them at home and school them at home.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm kind of used to, like, I'm eldest of 5. We were homeschooled, so I come from that. So you say it's not foreign to me. Like, I'm used to the chaos and all the stuff that comes with it. But to, like, it, I love it's the most amazing thing is when you have children, because what it forces you to do is even when you're single and you get married, even as a married couple, you still can do whatever you want, go to movies, go to a restaurant. And as soon as a kid comes into your life, everything changes. And there's a level of selflessness that comes with being a parent that people that aren't parents they don't understand.
They don't.
And it's a good thing, because it takes the focus off yourself, and your focus is on someone else. And so I love, it's exhausting. It's nerve-wracking. It's stressful, all those things, but it's the best. Having those kids is the best thing. And it's also talked about, the future and influencing the future. I could be prime minister and I'd have more influence on the future, raising these 5 kids to be, contributing members of society, hardworking, tax-paying, law-abiding, good people in society. That's going to have far more influence on the future than if I was doing anything else or even had a big career and was influential in all these things.
It's the try.
Sorry?
It's the try. You're trying.
Yeah.
You're trying.
Yeah.
No, you're trying.
Yeah.
Look, you have to always believe it has to get better. Now, say, well, what does better mean? At some point, we have to realize collectively, well, maybe we don't. Maybe we don't, because if you watch that movie from 1965, the movie ends with what's the point? And what's the point? The point, nothing. But having said that, that was a precursor to World War II and some horrific things that happened, and we evolved. We came out of that. Now this is kind of a loaded question here. So, but do we need something as catastrophic as that to wake everybody up and say, okay, this is not no more. And I'll come full circle on this one, because I kind of thought that in Canada here during the COVID situation, with the truckers doing what they did, that was that moment. And the first thing I said, I mentioned was, why doesn't the Prime Minister of Canada just go out in a parka, with a couple of security guys, undescript, and walk around and find out what the hell the problem? Okay, why are you guys here? I hear you. What are you talking? What's the issue here? The political sphere of things is so disconnected and removed
in reality.
That's right. And even so, I having grandkids now too, I can appreciate and understand that. I don't know what I would do, because I was very involved in my kids' education, very involved. And I was extremely fortunate that I in my position in the newspaper business, that I got to know superintendents of schools. And there was a time that I was thinking about putting the kids in private school. And not that I was talked out of it, but I sat down with a sage old superintendent of schools in Surrey here a long time ago. And he said to me, Stephen, the only difference between the school that you want your children to go to, our public system, is you. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, because you're involved with your kids' education. You have a problem, you go to the school and deal with it. So we need more yous. So that's the only difference. So I took that to heart. My kids, my children didn't go to private school, went to public school. Across the board, they've all done well.
Yep.
But, we were involved.
You had a vested interest.
That's right. I had a vested interest. And if there was an issue, let's deal with this issue. And especially because I was in the newspaper business and the media, I would find out about these things. And you couldn't get rid of me.
Yeah.
You couldn't. The principal couldn't get rid of me. And if they didn't, I just throw my card down, and I wasn't afraid to do that. Everyone doesn't have that luxury. But I didn't view the kids going to school as a babysitting service. Nor did I, even when I coached, I coach hockey, coach baseball. The worst thing I've ever seen is, kids are dropped off and their parents take off. And I just go, I used to have a meeting with the parents and say, look, I'm not a babysitter here. Your kid is here to see you, see them. Okay.
Yeah.
But do we need something so catastrophic to happen to make everyone wake up and say, you know what? And I thought COVID was it, but apparently it wasn't. And we continue to chug along. And things don't appear to be getting better. They appear to be getting worse. So, and to wrap it up here, we know what's going on. We can change government, but there's no guarantee that changing the government
Because like change the figurehead, all the bureaucracy below
has not changed.
has not changed. And unfortunately, I think you're right. We have to go through a lot of pain before we can rebuild.
Mhm.
I don't see any way around it. Our financial system, the debt levels that not just the government is in, but the people personally are in, is just out of control. It will have to take some sort of a collapse. It isn't like a reach equilibrium, like
And at a time too, we have an overabundance.
we're throwing food away.
Yeah, we're throwing food away. Yeah, we have an overabundance of everything. We make so much.
Yeah.
And we have so little, really. Like,
Well, what's that saying? Tough times create tough people.
Yeah.
Tough people create
Yeah.
prosperity creates
Yeah.
tough times. Like it's a circle.
Yeah.
And so, should my goal for my kids actually be to try have them be rich and wealthy and have everything given to them? Is that actually going to help them form their character? And is that or is actually some trouble and some hard times formative for them? Like, it's kind of, as a parent, you want the best for your kids.
Yes.
I want my kids just to be able to discern between right and wrong, between, not to be just float along with the crowd, but to be actually be able to stand back and to think critically about whatever it is, and to make a risk assessment of it and be able to navigate their way through. That's far, if they can have that skill, it's going to serve them much better than if I could leave them $2 million behind. So it's tricky, because on one hand, you want your kids to have, a chance, have a.
So I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
When we're going to wrap it up with this question here. Your children, people, young children, young people are on the internet a lot.
Yeah.
And it's like, you have your influencers, you have everything out there. I call it an era of self-indulgence. Okay. It's like, look at me, 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 look at me. And your children, how are you going to police that? Like that.
Well, they don't have phones at all.
Okay.
And we're going to hold out as long as humanly possible. My daughter's 12. All her friends have phones already. But there's just no way. I don't think a lot of parents realize the depth of depravity that is at the kids' fingertips. And it's not even just like predators. It's like their peers. Yes. And the bullying, the abuse, the everything that goes on. So our kids, for one, aren't having a phone for a very long time, but they're going to have to know how to
use the technology.
Use it. So we allow them on our phone, in the living room or where we're around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's totally different than when we grew up. Like just what?
Well, they don't even teach cursive writing in school anymore.
No.
Okay, it's printing and the keyboard. But the thing is that now, and I imagine kids naturally gravitate towards things that they shouldn't.
Yeah.
And but back again to the self-indulgence.
Yes.
You see, Jimmy's got this or whatever, and look what a wonderful, this kid's 10 years old, and look what this 10-year-old. I believe we'll pay for it. We're going to. So back to that catastrophic thing, hanging on and keeping that technology out of your children's hands for as long as possible. Yet at the same time, I would imagine having to rely on that when you're homeschooling.
Partially, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tricky balance, because even with all the AI coming in and craziness that's going to unleash on things, all these things, they can be used as a tool. I heard it once said like a knife. You can use it to butter your bread or to stab somebody. And it's not like these technologies are going to go away. They're only, again, that's where I think teaching them a level of discernment, not to just take things and blindly believe that, or if someone says, "Oh, I'm an expert on this, therefore you just do what I say."
Question.
Yeah, question it. Again, we're very involved. Obviously, we homeschool, so we're there all the time, which I think is an advantage because things are going to influence your kids. And what are those influences going to be? Who's going to be the one influencing their kids? At school, it could be a bunch of their peers. Online, they could be influenced by anything. But if my wife and I are the principal influencers on our kids, I think we have a chance. And I love spending time with them. I love because I have lots of leftover lumber. We build forts and things and skate ramps. I've got all these skate ramps for the boys, like half pipe and all these things.
And that you don't Tony Hawk come.
Yeah, I don't know.
But but I hear what you're saying.
Like, we don't just dump them off at the soccer field and leave. No, like, that's part of the reason why we homeschooled is it's like we want to be there when they learn to read and when they make these milestone achievements in their education. We want to be there to cheer them on, to encourage them, to be beside them. Because we're homeschooled, we do influence a lot of what they like. We choose what and how they learn something.
So you have that control.
And have that control. Yeah. And we're very blessed to be in that position to be able to do that. Not everybody is in that position, and it's not for everyone. We're the only single income family on the street. Everybody else is. And that's a bit of a lie too. This, like, everybody has to work. It's great for the government. We got 2 tax revenues coming in. Yeah. But at the end of the day, when I look at my neighbors and after they pay for childcare and after school care and all these other things, they're not that much farther ahead. And what you sacrifice for maybe being a little bit ahead financially is you're not there when your kids are like, kids naturally love learning. They're so excited. Like when we're doing something in science or history, they're so excited about it, and you can just take that excitement and run with it. And each kid learns totally differently. Yes, like completely differently. It's funny because you're the same parents, the same household, same environment, and yet completely different kids, because that's just the way they're wired. Especially, and the huge difference between girls and boys. We have 2 girls, 3 boys. They learn is completely different. And so what homeschooling allows us to do is we can cater to a child's what they love, and you can feed, you can weave everything else into it. Like as a kid, I loved history, but my mom would weave all these different things. Like we take, say you studied ancient Greece, talk about mathematics and Pythagorean theorem, and talk about sciences and Archimedes, and and you go through all the different subjects in the context of, the ancient Greeks or whatever it is, because that was what I was passionate about, was history. And so then you could weave in all these things. So I think as parents, as long as, like you said, you were invested in your kids, and whatever school system we send them to, as long as they can come home and they feel safe to discuss any subject with you, you're not going to yell at them and say, "Don't ever talk about that here again," or whatever, and you shut them out. Then they're going to go look for other people to talk about that and bring those things in.
Well, listen, Jacob, it's been fantastic talking to you.
Yeah,
it really has. It's been fun. This has been fun. Yeah. And it's Westmont Project Construction. Yeah. You're located out here, White Rock, South Surrey. I thank you. I really do thank you for spending your time and talking about this. I don't know if we're, I believe talking about things, at least
it is.
It's important.
It's very important. Face to face too.
Face to face. Yes.
It's so important.
Yeah, it is.
Face to face.
Yeah. Thank you, Jacob.
Yeah, thanks.
You may be asking yourself, what's any of this got to do with me? Absolutely nothing. Until next time.